Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Happy Sunday. Today I am going to be sharing with you my all-time favorite eyeshadow palettes. So as you can probably tell, there are so many eyeshadow palettes on the market, launching like every month, and honestly it's kind of hard to keep up with all of them. So I'm going to be sharing with you guys my favorites. I have 5 eyeshadow palettes here. Pretty much all of them are drugstore. One of them is a bit higher end, but I do think it's worth the price, and we'll cover that in a minute. Before we get started, make sure you guys subscribe down below for new videos on Sundays, and be sure to follow me on Instagram at justjade_beauty for behind the scenes. Feel free to give this video a thumbs up at any point during the video if you like it. And with all that being said, let's jump into the video. Okay, for the first eyeshadow palette, this is actually an eyeshadow quad, and that is the Physicians Formula Classic Nude palette. I think this is a great palette if you're wanting to do a little bit of makeup, but you don't want like all the colors and like everything that's kind of confusing when you're first starting out in makeup. This is a very simple palette. You've got 4 colors. I usually only use 3 of them, which are these 3 right here. The shimmer, haven't really played around with it that much, but it is a very nice shimmer. If you want to do more of like a night look, that would be perfect. You could just put it on the eyes, kind of like I have right now, and I'll share which palette I'm wearing in a moment. You've got your base color, you've got a transition color, you've got a crease color or an outer edge corner. Color, not corner, excuse me. And then if you want, you can always go back in with this and kind of pop it in the inner portion of your eye just to give a little light. So it's a very simple, easy to use palette. I'm not entirely sure how much this costed because we did get it on sale, but it should be relatively affordable. Next, this is a $5 palette, and I think it's great. And that is the Wet n Wild Rosé in the Air palette. This one is my favorite out of the whole, like their 10-pan palettes. I think they just repackaged all of them. So, and the packaging that I saw looked really nice. So I'm kind of excited for that. But this one is my favorite out of the, I think there's like 4. You've got your warm, it's a very warm tone palette. They have a cool tone palette that's not really up my alley at the moment. I'm like a warm tone kind of gal, but we've got your warm shades, you've got some pops of color. I've heard this is a dupe for the Anastasia, I think it's the Modern Renaissance palette. So if you're interested in that palette and you like the colors, maybe try this palette out before you like invest in a, I don't even know how much their palettes are, like $40? $40+. But I think this palette is totally worth it. I've already hit pan on this shade because I use it so much, but the colors are blendable, the formulation is really good, and the shimmers are really nice as well. It is a pretty much all matte palette except for these 2 shades right here, so you're not like overwhelmed with like glitter and shimmer and stuff like that. Moving a bit farther up in price, we have the Colourpop Blush Crush eyeshadow palette. You guys know I've been loving this recently. I think it's a great palette. There are way more glitters and shimmers than there are mattes, but if you really like these colors and these tones, I think this is a beautiful palette. And with these more like, they're not really glitters, but they're more like mattes with glitter in them. If you just use a fluffy brush, you can make them look pretty matte. They will have a little bit of a sheen to them, but I've been able to make them work. And now if you want to build them up and get the glitter, then you could totally do that too. I'll try to have a tutorial linked up there as well if you want to check that one out, see how I use it. The formulation of the Colourpop eyeshadows are just exquisite, creamy, they're smooth, they're buttery. You also get a Super Shock shadow that I honestly just love. It's beautiful, so definitely go check this one out. Next, this is an all matte palette. You might be able to guess which one it is just from my other videos, but that is the Milani Most Loved Mattes palette. This palette I just think is a gorgeous palette. They're all matte, so you don't have to worry about like, okay, how do I put the shimmer on? How do I like blend it out? Blah, blah. They're all matte. You have a bit of color to play around with, but it's not so vibrant that it'll look unnatural. And I really enjoy all the shades. They're very blendable. I wouldn't say they're creamy per se, but they do have a nice blendability to them. These I think retail for $20. I got mine off Amazon and they were a bit cheaper, so maybe just look around and compare prices because they might be different at different stores. But you do get 16 shades in this palette. The last palette that I would recommend is the Morphe and Jaclyn Hill palette. This palette I think is just, I mean, it's a classic palette, but it is a bit pricey at $38, I believe. But you get so many shades. You get your like pops of color, which even if you're like no color, I think you could still get a ton of use out of like all of these shades up here. I'm definitely not a like colorful person like that either, so I've only really played around with them. I'm wearing this palette on my eyes today. I am wearing the shade Meeks as my shimmer color today. I wanted to do like a bronzy eye because I've never actually like done a bronze eye before, so I wanted to use that shade. My favorite shade in this entire palette is Smoky But Natural. My favorite transition shade is Silk Cream. It's just a beautiful palette. It's creamy, it's blendable, and the tones of everything are just so good. So I really think if you want to splurge on a palette, this would be one to maybe check out. Thanks for stopping by and hanging around. I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves and learned something. I want to put all these videos that I'm doing of like helpful videos that like if you're shopping or you just want to increase your makeup collection, that you can go to them and you'll find all my favorite products. I will do this slowly, so it's not just like all in like the span of a month. You're getting like my favorite foundations, my favorite concealers, my favorite, yada, yada, yada. So I will have that playlist so you can go back and reference it at any time. And all that being said, I will see you guys in my next video. Ciao, Bellas!